We are, let's see, we're on Daf Lamed Base 32a. And the Gemara that we mentioned, that we learned yesterday, was all about the fact that someone who is given too much, they sometimes forget about Hashem. And it sometimes leads them to that path. If you get too much, you somehow take things for granted, and you start, you don't really think about Hashem. And Abraham explained us very clearly that comes from the fact that if you have too much, you don't need anything. And so you don't have to look to Hashem for anything. So therefore you automatically forget about Hashem, because you really have, all that you need. So that why should you even think about Hashem if you have everything? And there's nothing pushing you to think about Hashem and to daven and ask Hashem for anything, because you have everything. So, and this was a claim that Moshe Rabbeinu used to Hashem, that why do you feel the Jewish people are so guilty? You're really a little of the cause by giving them everything, and by giving them everything, you're sort of causing them to possibly fall into this trap. So the flip side of that is that if Moshe complains like that, does that mean that he's giving Hashem the opportunity to say, okay, I guess I won't give you everything, So that's the other side of the coin, which is, if you say, well, by you giving them everything, so it almost like is almost like pushing Hashem to maybe I shouldn't give you everything. And of course, we want Hashem to give us everything, but the point here is that this was a moment of danger for the Jewish people, where there was punishment, there was serious destruction, and so this was the avenue Moshe Rabbeinu used in order to save the Jewish people from a major destruction. And in such a scenario, you sort of use whatever you're able to bring us salvation, to bring up, save the Jewish people. So that's the Gemara that we were looking at. The Gemara brought a number of verses that mention this idea. So let's look at those verses that we learned, the Psukim. So first it says, Oishaya, he said a mashal, but that was a mashal, that's before. Then we had another mashal. Then we had Kemarisam Vayisba'u, which Marisam has to do with the mirror, the graze, the place to graze, Vayisba'u, and they became satisfied, Vayisba'u Savu, Vayarim Libam, their heart became arrogant, Al Kain Shchechuni, therefore they forgot me, and they sinned. So this verse, what's unique about it is it says Al Kain, therefore. That is like it's emphasizing that this is the cause, that satisfaction, being satisfied, being given everything, could cause a person to forget about Hashem. It's a sin. And the only negative thing about bringing this pasuk is the fact that it's from the Nevi'im, it's not from the Chumash. And even though that's a good proof from the Nevi'im, but it's better if we could have an actual source from the Chumash. So the next Amayra brings pasuk from Chumash. And what's the pasuk? So the first pasuk Rab Nachman brings, he says, "V'ram levabecha," your heart becomes arrogant. V'shachachta es Hashem Elikecha, you forget Hashem, your God, who took you out of Egypt, the house of slavery. So you see that being arrogant, Varam levavecha, but the problem is it sounds like arrogance causes it. But really, it's the verse. You have to know what the beginning of the verse is. And so some of your Gemaras you have on the side, it might have the entire verse in Hebrew. And that entire verse reads that lest you eat and be satisfied, in batim tovim tivne v'yashavta, you will have good houses and you will dwell in them. And your cattle and sheep will be multiplied, and kesev zav yir belach, and your silver and gold will be in abundance. V'chol asher l'cha yirbe, and everything that you have will be multiplied. And then v'rav levavecha, your heart will feel exalted, will be arrogant. V'shachachtas Hashem alikecha, and you will forget Hashem. So this is this basically is the idea that having so much will cause ram levavecha, you will feel arrogant. And I think this goes along with how Abraham was explaining it, that you feel arrogant, meaning that you don't need Hashem. You're arrogant that you have everything. You're the absolute entity here. You really don't need any help from Hashem. And then that causes you to forget Hashem. Now that is a general idea of forgetting Hashem. And the Rabbanan say that it'll lead you to idol worship, because the Rabbanan say that ve'achal v'sava v'dashen ufana, you will eat and be satisfied and enjoy, and you will turn to other gods and you will worship them. And so the Rabbanan are adding that it's like I lead to idol worship. And then that the Gemara brings a verse, Vayishman Yeshurun Vayivat, that not only will you worship other gods maybe together with Hashem, but you will actually remove Hashem from the list, and you will worship other gods and exclude Hashem. Vayishman Yeshur and Vayivat, you will kick Hashem, so to speak. You will degrade Hashem and desecrate Hashem by being shamanta, by being fattened and avisa, thick, big, kasisa, cover your heart, your flesh covers over. You've got a belly that covers shamanta, avisa, kasisa. It's a lot of fat. And you will forget Hashem. You will forsake Hashem who made you. Vayinabel, you will degrade and Surah Yeshua say the rock of your salvation. That's the full verse. That I know the Gemara only says the first three words, but that's the verse in Hazinu. So the point is that these three verses, it's like bringing out the extent of what this type of being satisfied could lead to. Not only is it just forgetting about Hashem, but you will worship other gods as well, and you will even come to taking Hashem totally out of one's vocabulary, so to speak. You will desecrate Hashem and kick Hashem, so to speak. Susan, you had a question.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, and I understand the verse, but I believe that part of our strength is being arrogant. That we choose Hashem. We always choose. The Jewish people always choose Hashem.
Yeah. Good point, Susan. So the Susan is emphasizing that it's still important for us to be proud of being Jewish, and we don't have to hide it. And that's true, but that's not the arrogance that we're talking about here. That's a certain pride and feeling privileged. And so this is what we're talking about.
I see. I don't understand.
What we're talking about here is someone who feels that everything they have, and they have a lot, everything they have came from them and not from Hashem. That sometimes if a person has too much, they forget about Hashem. They think, well, I own, I own my business, and and I don't need to daven. I don't need to do any of this because I have everything. I don't, they start talking about the I have this and I own that, and I made myself into success, and I really don't need this and I don't need that, and I don't need to do mitzvahs because I am the success. And they forget about Hashem because they feel, and I'm saying it in words, but this is, it's a subconscious feeling that they have that I don't have to come to anyone. I am totally self-sufficient. And that feeling of being self-sufficient because of themselves is the arrogance. That's very different than being proud of Hashem and having Hashem in your life.
Okay, I understand now.
It's the exact opposite. So did anyone else want to say something? Okay, so then that is an explanation given why we have these three verses. And then the Gemara says that Hashem actually regretted the fact that, in other words, he agreed with Moshe that, yes, I guess you're right, because I gave them too much, they ended up worshiping idols, the golden calf, because I gave them too much. And the verse at its broad is talking about they worship the Baal, which is a type of idol, but it's also going back on Moshe's claim that they worship the golden calf. So that's the verse of Kesef Hirbesi La Zahav Asu Labal. I gave them too much, and they ended up worshiping this this Baal, this idol worship called Baal. Now the Gemara then continues, and it says, "Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe lech reid," and this is the first word on the line. It's the fifth wide line. It's maybe about I would say it's about 2/3. No, first it's a third. We're just starting the second third of the page, so it's about 5. It's the fifth wide line. First word on the line. Vayedaber Hashem al Moshe. Hashem spoke to Moshe. Lech reid, go down, go and descend. Lech means to go, and reid means to descend. And it says, this is talking about, this is a continuation really of the story of the golden calf, because the Gemara brought up the golden calf. And once we brought up the golden calf, which came because we were talking about, does everyone remember how we got into this? The Gemara does often go from one discussion, it leads to another discussion, it leads to a third one and a fourth one, and then sometimes you forget the whole.
Too much gold.
Yeah, but how did we get to that? And how did we get to too much gold?
That I don't remember.
Yeah. Does anyone remember how we got to this?
No.
Yeah, we started with Hannah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ezra. We started with Chana, that Chana spoke aggressively towards Hashem. And then we got to Moshe speaking in a sense aggressively towards Hashem and saying it's Hashem's fault. And that led us to, what was he talking about? He was talking about the golden calf. And what was he saying? He was saying because you gave them too much wealth. And then that leads us into the continuation of the discussion of the golden calf. So again, we begin with this verse. Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe lech reid, and Hashem spoke to Moshe, go and descend. Go descend. My lech reid. So the Gemara is bothered with what that means, lech reid. And the main reason why the Gemara is bothered with it is not because it's a double language, because the Gemara, the Chumash has used such a language in other places as well, lech reid. So it's not surprising. But what is surprising is that it said that Hashem told Moshe, go descend, because Moses was up in heaven. And God told him, go descend. What was he supposed to do when he descends? It doesn't say. So therefore, the Gemara is going to come. The Gemara understands that it's going to teach us that it really wasn't telling him a physical concept of going and descending, but it's more in a what it means, that descend means to lower your esteem, lower your feeling of your job, that your job has now been lessened. Yes, Ezra.
He was on the mountain. He was speaking with Hashem. So Hashem basically said, your people are doing things that are not appropriate. So go down. So it's a physical go down. You know,
So
go take care of it.
So the Gemara's understanding, right? So Ezra is asking a very good question. Ezra is asking, it would seem that Hashem needed to say go down, because otherwise Moshe was obviously obligated to stay there on the mountain because Hashem was talking to him. So why does the Gemara learn something from this verse? If the verse is not, there's nothing extra in the verse, there's nothing surprising in the verse. So how is the Gemara going to learn this teaching? And that's a very good question that Ezra's asking. And
Rabbi,
yeah.
could it have been all he had to say was go?
So that's what the commentaries want to say, and then they say you can't say that because there's other places where it does say lech reid, and because there's other places where it says lech reid, it means that's the normal way of saying it. But so therefore the commentaries say the Gemara must mean, but that he didn't tell him what to do when he goes down. And because of that, the Gemara is going to darshan, it's going to expound on it with a different meaning, like a homiletic meaning to it, rather than the simple meaning of go down. Because normally that term is used when you say go down and do something, and here he didn't tell him to go down. So what it sounds like the Gemara is saying is that Avram, yes.
Could go down mean he's at a high spiritual state at the moment with Hashem? To go down means to go down spiritually to their level below there, where they're worshiping the the calf. So it was a spiritual descent as well as a physical one.
Yeah. So that's what the Gemara is pretty much along those lines. That's what the Gemara is going to say. Very, very, very nice, well said, Avraham. The question that we're having, and that Ezra has, is that how does the Gemara know that that's what it means? Normally, you'll add such an explanation if there's some type of question on the verse, and therefore we'll add that it means some type of a spiritual descent, which the Gemara explains in a certain way. It's not, might not just mean spiritually, lower your level of holiness, but we'll soon see what it means. But you're right, the Gemara does explain it that way. The question is, how do we know? And that's what the commentaries are trying to figure out. Like, how do we know to expound on it? But in any event, it's a good question, Ezra. I'm not going to answer it right now, but let's continue. So the Gemara says, "My lech reid." The Gemara says, "So what is this? The meaning of lech reid?" And the Gemara answers, and it says that lech reid means Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Laya Kodesh Baruch Hu LaMoshe. Hashem told Moshe, "Moshe reid migdulascha." Moshe, go down from your greatness. So it means like in a spiritual way, like go down from your greatness. As Abraham was saying, Klum nasati lecha gedula ela b'shvil Yisrael. Did I give you greatness? Only because of Israel, only because of the Jewish people. V'yachshav Yisrael chatu. And now the Jewish people have sinned. And so Moshe is on Har Sinai, and Hashem is telling him, they've sinned, and you should go down from your greatness. And the Gemara continues, and it says, why does it say, the Gemara says, Raid Migdolascha, and it says, let me just read the verse here. Okay, so the Gemara continues and it says, Atolamali, what do I need you for? So if the Jewish people have sinned, Achshav Yisrael Chotu, Atolamali, what do I need you? I don't need your greatness. And what makes you so great? Your whole greatness is only the Jewish people. Miyad Toshash Koichoy Shel Moshe, immediately Moshe became weak. He did not have strength to speak. So he wasn't able to even ask Hashem for forgiveness for the Jewish people. He was so weak. He didn't have strength to speak, meaning to pray for them. And the Gemara says, when Hashem told Moshe, Heref mimeni, let go from me, v'yashmidem, and I will destroy them. So when he heard that, what does that mean? Moshe was not praying for them. And Hashem says, leave me alone, leave me alone. What was Hashem hinting to Moshe? Hashem was hinting that you should be asking for them and praying for them. And that's why I'm saying, leave me alone, leave me alone. Meaning Moshe was not begging Hashem. But when he said, Heref mimeni v'yashmidem, leave me alone and I will destroy them, Hashem was hinting, why don't you, beg for them and pray for them? So, in other words, Hashem was saying, because you're not bothering me, if you leave me alone, I will be able to destroy them. What is that hinting to? That if Moshe doesn't leave Hashem alone, he won't be able to destroy them. It'll be too hard for him to destroy them because Moshe is begging him to help to save the Jewish people. So Amar Moshe said in his heart that from hearing what Hashem had said to him, Davar zeh toli bi. He says, this is dependent on me, that if I daven for them, then Hashem won't be able to destroy them. So Miyad Amar ben Eschazik b'tefillah, immediately he stood up and strengthened himself with prayer, Uvigesh Rachamim, and he asked Hashem for mercy. So,
Rabbi,
yeah.
My take on it is that Moses already asked God, or told God, you gave him too much gold. He's blaming God already. So now God defends himself and he tells him, it's not just me. You have to handle the people too. You're the leader. Go down and work with them. Don't just blame me for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Lech Red means, You think that by coming up here and telling me that it's my fault, we're going to solve the problem? We're not. You still have to talk to the people and you still have to do something about it.
Right. The only thing is that the story, the way it worked was Moshe didn't go up. This is when Moshe is there to receive the tablets. So he's really not there. He didn't come up to speak to Hashem to forgive them. This is during that first, while he's there, and Hashem tells him, you better go down there. Or Hashem is telling him, do you know what's going on down there? They're worshiping a golden calf. So Moshe didn't even know about it. He just found out now when Hashem is telling him. So it's not like Hashem is going to say, why are you coming to me? You should really be with them, because Moshe is there. He's not coming to Hashem for the golden calf. He came to Hashem to receive tablets and to study from Hashem.
But in the Mishnah, they talk about, Areoti, blaming God that it was his fault.
Right,
And God agrees with him. He says, okay, maybe I did wrong by giving him too much. But
Right,
he tells
right.
him now, he says, go down and talk to them and handle it,
right. But that claim of that Hashem gave them too much was not, at this point. That's later on when he's asking him for forgiveness.
I see, but I see that this follows the Mishnah, so I thought
The verse that the Gemara brought about Moshe, that Moshe was aggressive, that Moshe was aggressive towards Hashem.
yeah, that's the beginning of the Mishnah.
It's one second. But Yom Moshe El Hashem, it says it's like Al Hashem, and then it said V'di Zahav. So that is the understanding is when he was asking. It's in Devarim, but the question is at what point was Moshe asking Hashem and sort of blaming Hashem? The understanding would be that it would be like at the time when Moshe is ready to ask Hashem for atonement. That would be, that was that statement. So here we're dealing with before that when Moshe doesn't even know anything about it, and Hashem tells him now, they're worshiping the Egel. So he's telling him Lech Rei, and then he says that Moshe got weak. And then he says to Moshe, why, let go of me and I'm going to destroy them. And Moshe is like, I'm not holding on to you. I'm not complaining. Why are you telling me let go of me? It must be that what Hashem was saying was, if someone were to hold on to me, would block me, I wouldn't destroy them. If you would pray, I would not end up destroying them. If someone prevents me from, is begging me not to destroy them, I won't. And so Moshe realized that's what Hashem was like hinting, and so he said, so of course he was miyad. Immediately he stood and asked Hashem for mercy, and that the Gemara sees that as a mashal, that there is a parable to such a thing. I hope it's not a story of today, but maybe in the olden days there was such a concept here, where you would have a king. Here's the story. Here's the parable. The Mashal Melech, the Gemara continues, a king, Shekos al Benoi. He was angry at his son, and Bahaya Makeo Maku Gedoylo. He was beating him up. Bahaya Oyava Yoshev Lafana. His friend, the king's friend, was sitting in front of him. Umisyare Loimeloi Davar. And he was afraid to say anything to the king, that he shouldn't hit him so much, because he was nervous that the king would be angry at him for mixing in. He doesn't want to hear anything from anyone. But the king said, Amar Hamelech, the king said, Il Malay Oyavi, if not that this friend is standing before me, Haragticha, I would have killed you. That's what he tells his son, the king. And so the friend realized, Amar, the friend said he said to himself, he said, I see, Davar Zeh Toloi Bi, that it's all because of me that I'm saving, that I have the potential to save this kid's life from his father, the king. Miyad Amad Vehitziloi, immediately he got up and saved him. In other words, he begged the king, he should have mercy on him and so on. But he understood that the king wanted that someone should speak on the kids. The king wanted someone to speak on the kid's behalf, that to calm the king down. And so the same thing was Moshe understood that Hashem wanted that he should speak on behalf of the Jewish people. So at this point, what it sounds like is that first Hashem said, Lech Reid, go down. And then Hashem said, Heref mimeni. Then Hashem said, Heref mimeni v'yashmidem, let go of me, and I will destroy them. Which sounds like maybe an answer to Ezra's question. Ezra, did you want to say something about this?
Yeah, no, there are two times that Moshe went up to the mountain. Okay, the one in which he talks about the gold, that happened after Moshe reduced the golden calf, made them drink, and he went back up to get the second set of luchot, and he prayed, and that's when Hashem told him that he was ready to get rid of them. The first time is when he went up to get the original set of luchot, but he didn't know anything that was happening in the camp, and that's when Hashem told him to go down. So
Okay.
the Gemara is telling you about two different events, not in order, and I think that may be the reason why there's a little bit of a confusion.
Right. Well, the words V'di Zahav really did not. I mean, we don't find them until the Chumash Devarim.
Yes. Which would have meant that it happened after the fact, and would have had to happen.
Well, Chumash Devarim is 40 years later.
Right.
But this story, it's obviously referring to a story of much earlier. It's just mentioning it here.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
No, it's unclear. It's unclear really what exact point was the V'di Zahav, but it would make sense to say that it's referring to when he was asking Hashem, when he was asking Hashem to atone for the sin of the golden calf. That would be the time that he would have mentioned this V'di Zahav. Not before he knew. You know what I mean? It would make sense. It was during that second 40 days that he went up to heaven. Now there was a third. There is a Rashi that says that Moshe really went 3 times. He went from after Matan Torah, which is Zion Sivan. He came down, 40 days later, Vav Sivan, Zion Sivan. He came down Tammuz of Rosh Chodesh Av. Then he went up. Rosh Chodesh Av came down. He came down. No, Rosh Chodesh Elul. I'm sorry. He went Zion. 40 days would be. He went Zion Sivan, and he came back in the middle of Tammuz. Right. Then he went again in the 7th Shivas of Tammuz. Right. Shivas of Tammuz. He broke the luchos. That's exactly it. Right. Shivas of Tammuz. He broke the luchos. Then he went back up and he came down Rosh Chodesh Elul. And then he went back up Rosh Chodesh Elul, came back Chavches Av, and then he went back Rosh Chodesh Elul, came back on the 10th of Tishrei, which is Yom Kippur. So there were 3 travelings up to heaven, but the middle one is when he was really begging Hashem for forgiveness. So that middle time, so that would make sense that was when the Zahav was during that trip that he went to beg Hashem for atonement.
And the Gemara, does this connection. If you want to call it ADD connection, however you want to call it, use the fact that here I finished talking about Moshe being up in heaven. So let me talk to talk to Hashem. Let me talk about the other case where Moshe was up also talking to Hashem, and so they bring in this Lech Red, which is a connection. It
really happened before, you're saying, because it really happened before. Right. But the point is, we're talking about the Egel and discussions that Moshe had with Hashem, and it is along the same lines because it really fits very well. Because what we're saying is Moshe did stick up for the Jewish people, and he put his life on the line, and he did some things that are a little dangerous. Just like this friend of the king, he wanted to save the prince's life, but he was a little scared. And so here also, Moshe didn't know. Moshe was it said number one, he was weak, but Hashem hinted to him that this is what your job is. You got to fight for the Jewish people. So it's sort of maybe explaining, how Moshe knew that that's his job, and it tells us, Hashem sort of hinted to Moshe, so it's not surprising that the Gemara goes this way. But yeah, you're right. The second story happened before the first. Yes, Susan.
Okay, I'm a little bothered by, it says, and the Lord said to Moses, go and descend, for your people whom you have lifted out of the land of Egypt have been corrupted. Hashem doesn't own, he doesn't say my people.
Ah, very good question.
That bothers me.
That's a very good question. Does anyone have an answer to that? That's a very good
Well,
question.
we do the same thing. We do the same thing, something, your child does something wrong and you tell your wife, go and take care of your son who's doing something wrong over here. We do it as well.
Oh, that's nice, Ezra. But there is another answer.
No.
Does anyone does anyone want?
It's the area of love that caused this entire problem.
Right.
It's the
So
what?
the answer, Susan, is a very good question. Rashi mentions it, that when they left Egypt, there was a group of Egyptians that they sort of realized that seems like there is a God of the Jewish people, because he brought all those plagues and everything. So there's a group of Egyptians that seemed to side with the Jewish people, and they went to Moses. They said, Moses, we wanna join you in leaving Egypt. And Moses thought this was a great opportunity. You could get, other nations, these other peoples to sort of like convert. So these were Moshe's people that he was convinced, he was sure that this is a good idea to take these people and make them Jewish. And ultimately, they are the source of all the sins that the Jewish people did in the desert, because there was some level of insincerity, and they were the Moshe had in mind that they would join and be good Jews, but they weren't, and they are the source of the problem. The golden calf. It's not like the Jewish people just initiated, we got to go worship a golden calf. It's the Erev Rab, this group of insincere converts from Egypt that was like pushing the Jewish people. Guys, we gotta go worship this. Moses died in heaven, and he didn't come down. He promised us to come down. So they were instigating the entire golden calf. So whose fault really is the golden calf? It is Moshe's. It really is Moshe's insincere converts. But they got the Jewish people to do some element of sin as well. So we have some guilt there, but ultimately we were like framed, and we were pushed into it and tricked into it. Okay, so that answers your question.
Okay.
Now the Gemara continues, and it mentions that the Ata Hanichali, and and now leave me, and I will, after the sin of, again, this is also after the sin of the golden calf, Hashem told Moshe, leave me, my anger will burn in them, and I will destroy them, and I will make you into a great nation. And what that means is that Hashem was telling Moshe, I'm going to destroy the Jewish people. Really? I'm going to destroy the Jewish people? How's Hashem going to do that? He promised Abraham that he's going to have descendants. Hashem says, no problem. I'm going to make you, Moshe, the Jewish people. You're one of the descendants, and you will be the source of all the future Jewish people, and everyone else will die out. And so I'm not going against my promise, because my promise will still stay in effect, because Moshe, you will be the leader of the Jewish people. You will be the father of all the Jewish people. Everyone else will die out, and all your children, grandchildren, and so on. That will be the Jewish people. So that's what Hashem told Moshe, that let my anger, leave me alone. and let my anger burn in the Jewish people. I will destroy them, and I will make you into the great nation that I promised Abraham. We're going there. Amar Rabavo says, not that this verse is written, it would be impossible to say such a thing. This verse says, Hashem said, leave me alone. Let go of me. Let go of me. That's the verse. Let go of me. And what does this mean? That Moshe held on to Hashem. He held on to Hashem like a person holds on to his friend's garments. That's how Moshe held on to Hashem. And he said before him, Master of the universe, I am not going to leave you, release you. That's what Moshe told Hashem. Master of the universe, thank you, Ezra. I'm not going to release you until you forgive the Jewish people. And so from the word hanichali, release, leave me, let go of me, it sounds that Moshe was actually holding on to Hashem. Now, what does this mean? I will make you into a great nation. Moshe said before Hashem, Master of the universe. What do you think Moshe told Hashem? What did Moshe answer back? Hashem said, you know what? Forget about all the other Jewish people. You're the main one. Your children, that's the main thing. What would happen? What would you say if Hashem told you that? Forget about all the rest of the Jewish people. I just want you. Then it's going to be you and your children. What would you think? So Hashem said, so Moshe answered back. He said, Rebbeinu Shalaylam, Umakise shall shalosh regalim. A chair that has three legs to it, that it's sturdy, but it ain't a yachalamay lefanecha b'shas kaischa. When you get angry, even though it has three legs, it's not going to. You're not going to be. It's not able to stand. It doesn't stand when you're angry. When you're angry, even though it has a solid base, it's not going to work. Kisei shel regel echad. What about a chair with one leg? Alachas kama v'kama. How much more so? It's not going to be able to exist if you get angry. And so therefore, Moshe answered back. He says, no, I don't want that. I don't want that I should be the head of the Jewish people, so to speak, and only be my family. Because my family, it'll mean that there's only one leg. And that means that it'll be really weak. And if it didn't work with three legs, what are the three legs? Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Those are the three legs. If it doesn't work with three legs, it's for sure not going to work with one leg. Not only that, but he says another line. I have embarrassment from Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. What's going to happen when I go to heaven? Moshe says. Now they'll say, what are they going to say now if I let you destroy the Jewish people and I become the head? So what are they going to say? Yoimru, they will say, the patriarchs will say, Re'u Parnos, look at this leader, Shehem et Aleim, that Hashem chose, Hashem placed over them. Bikesh Gedul Liatzmai, all he cared about was himself. Bikesh Aleim Rachamim, and he didn't request mercy for all the people. He just cared about his family. He cared about himself, his own family. He didn't care about everyone else. So the Avos are going to be very upset, and it's going to be embarrassing to see them. Moshe will be embarrassed. Imagine what they'll say. It's one thing if just people in the street say something. Here you got the patriarchs, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, speaking negative. Look at this leader. He doesn't know he's crazy. He's selfish. It just cares about himself. It's all about his own honor, his own interests, his own family. And so that is the answer that Moshe answered Hashem back. The next Gemara says, it brings a verse that we read on a fast day. And the Gemara says that it's also after the after the sin of the golden calf. Vayechal Moshe es pnei Hashem. Moshe, it uses an unusual language of prayer. Vayechal Moshe. Moshe somehow begged Hashem or prayed to Hashem, but it's not the typical term used. And so the Gemara tries to understand what is the root of this word vayechal. So the Gemara has a few explanations here. Amar Rabbi Elazar said, Melamed shaman Moshe betfilah. This teaches us that Moshe stood in prayer l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu before Hashem ad shehechalahu, until he
it's difficult. It's called importuned.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Importuned. I don't know. It's
Sick.
an odd. It's like petitioned. It's like tried to find the middle point. I don't know. It's a difficult word to translate.
So it seems like, right. Thank you for bringing up I guess that's the art scroll. And Susan, you said the Steinsaltz says the words made him sick. The simple meaning could be that shehechalahu, that he made him sick. And again, the word vayechal is what we're trying to figure out, but we're comparing it to the word chayla, which means sick. And so he sort of like made Hashem sick to that extent that Moshe prayed so much until Hashem was sick. In other words, it was coming out of Hashem's ears. Something along.
It says overexertion, also overexertion.
Right. Who was overexerted? Moshe.
I think both of them were both.
Right. Well, Moshe was begging so much that he made Hashem sick, so to speak. That's to that extent.
Right. The definition on the internet for importune is to harass. Persistently or to do something. Right. So harass.
It's so nice of Art Scroll to have to teach us these hard words, you know. Why couldn't they just write harass? You know, who are they showing off to? But but hechalahu, so it's from the word chayla, till he made him sick, until he made Hashem, so to speak. You know, of course, what does that mean? Make Hashem sick. But that's to that extent. That's the reason why it uses the word vayechal from the word chayla. Chayla is like bikur chaylim, visiting the sick. Chayla, that's the word vayechal. Now Rava says a little different. Rava Amar ad shehefer loy. Rava says until he, or hiter loy, two different versions, but it means he was hefer loy nidroi, till he. That Rava says that Moshe prayed before Hashem to the extent that he even had to nullify, annul Hashem's promise, Hashem's vow, that Hashem said he's going to destroy them. So Moshe, it says, "Vayechal Moshe es pnei Hashem alekov." Moshe annulled the promise before Hashem. So that's the word vayechal, is from the concept of annulling it's annulling. And here the Gemara explains how that could mean annul. Ksiv hacha, here it says vayechal. Uksiv hasam lo yachel dvaroi. Do not desecrate the words, and desecrate one's words, desecrate or make one's words chulin, mundane. Do not make your words unimportant, insignificant, mundane, and that means you should keep your word. And V'amar Mar, and Master said, in other words, we've learned before that that hu einay mechel, the person who makes a vow can't annul his words. Aval acherem mechalen loy, but others can others can be remove the words, remove the vow. In other words, can annul a vow. And that's the law about hataras nedarim, to be annulling a vow. And there are laws about this. If a person makes a vow, there are any way to get out of it. We've learned before about annulling a vow. We learned it in the book of Judges. We learned together that the story of Yiftach, that Yiftach made a vow that his daughter, whoever left his house, would be killed, and then his daughter left the house, and he meant that he thought it would be an animal, and then so he had a vow, and the rabbis were supposed to annul that vow. Pinchas was supposed to annul the vow, and he was supposed to go to Pinchas and annul it, and so on. But we've learned about annulling a vow, that there is a concept of annulling a vow. It's a biblical, it's a teaching that's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It's a teaching from Hashem, and but this is a hint to it, that it says he can't annul his vow, but others can annul it. Meaning, you can go to three. You either go to one. You could go to one expert in laws of Nadarim, or three regular people can annul a vow. But nowadays, we don't have any real expert in the laws of vows, so therefore we go to three rabbis. You generally annul. Well, you sit together, a rabbi and a few congregants, and they'll annul someone's vow if someone made a vow and they want to get it annulled.
Rabbi?
Yes.
So I'm seeing a difficulty over here. It says, if in fact it means to annul a vow, so and they're bringing in the fact that this I forget who it is. He says, Mar says he can't annul, but others can annul for him. So then how can you explain that Hashem annulled his own vow? Because he's Hashem?
No. Moshe annulled Hashem's vow.
But how can he do that?
But that's that's a question. How can Moshe is only one?
Right.
So it says an expert has the ability to annul a vow annul a vow. So I would think Moshe would be the only expert at that time to annul to be able to, and so Moshe annulled his vow, whatever that means. In other words,
so why wouldn't it say, instead of acherim mechalim lo, why wouldn't it say acher mechal lo?
Yeah, because in general, it's talking not about this case. That statement is a statement in another Gemara somewhere else, where it's giving us the general rule that you yourself can't do it, but others would be able to do it. Who are the others? So it either means someone else who's a yachid mumcha, or three hadyotis. But this is just a hint. It's a smach. It's really halacha l'Moshe Sinai, that you can about annulling a vow. But this is considered, I think it's considered an asmachta.
So in other words, if there is someone who is an expert in it, he could,
yeah. And I think in Shulchan Aruch it mentions that nowadays we don't have any experts. I think it mentions that in Shulchan Aruch.
Rabbi.
Let me just see if the commentary is over here. There is another explanation, what I'm seeing here. The other explanation is just like a husband has the ability to annul his wife's vow. Here also, Moshe annulled Hashem's vow, similar to because he's called Ish HaElokim. So based on the verse, Ish HaElokim, a man of God, it also has a meaning of a husband of God, so to speak. And so according to that meaning, basically Moshe had a spiritual, he was spiritually considered like Hashem's husband, which is not surprising because the Jewish people were sometimes called Hashem's husband, Hashem's wife, Hashem's daughter, Hashem's mother. There are numerous verses that poetically use the, talk about the relationship between the Jewish people, Hashem's son, Hashem's firstborn son. We have many different terms that the Jewish people are considered. And so Moshe is called the Ish HaElokim, which could mean he's like the husband. Now, there are laws that a husband can annul his wife's vow, certain vows. And that's why, that would answer why the Gemara uses the word Hefer instead of Hitir. Hefer is the term used for the annulling a vow between a husband and a wife. And Hitir is the annulling a vow that's between a man, that's any other person is called Hataras Nadarim. And so therefore it uses the term Hefer. According to that, it's understood. But that's not the only explanation. The other understanding as well. Hitir lo nidre, there is a medrash that uses that word.
By Edith has a question.
Yes, Edith. You're muted.
Muted.
I thought we also learned that sometimes we can rise above the stars, above our mazel, that'll change our destiny. And so is it possible that maybe, and I thought that each nation also has a destiny and stars and angels that guide it or look out for it. So is it possible that maybe at this point, Moshe was affecting something in heaven that would change our mazel, and that we were rising, we had to rise above it, or we couldn't rise above it? I don't know. I just thought maybe there was some effect that way.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that mechanism of there is, what you're saying is not wrong. I'm just not sure that it's connected to this. I'm not familiar with it being connected.
I thought
Yeah.
maybe something was going on in the skies that changed our decree or changed what God was wanting to eliminate us.
What you're asking is if Moshe davened and it worked, did he have to do something in Shamayim was there some mechanism that Hashem switched in order to take off the punishment of death? But the answer, the thought that I have, the understanding I have is that that's not called mazel. Mazel is something that you're destined for. This was a punishment that they weren't destined for. They decided to worship the golden calf. They were going to get it, but it wasn't considered. I don't see it as being mazel that they were supposed to get punished, and therefore you need to go above the mazel to switch it. If a person's not supposed to have a child, then you go above the mazel and could switch it.
Rabbi?
You know what I mean? That's my understanding.